everybody, and welcome to the Unexplained Archives, not to be confused with the Unexplained Archive.
That's right.
We have multiple archives, so thank you for joining us today. We've got lots to talk about. You've come to the right place if you want to hear the strange, the weird, and unusual. And we're going to open up our archives today. So thanks for joining us. I am one of your hosts, Jen Gentner.
Yes, Gentner. Yeah. And I'm Jamie Shea.
Hello, Jamie.
Like the butter.
Like Yes.
Yes.
I have nothing to compare my last name to. We joke. We want to welcome everybody. It's been quite a week.
It has.
We have had Jamie's documentary on Ghost Files has premiered this past week. Because of that, we now have way more subscribers and followers. So welcome everyone who is new. We cannot thank you enough for finding us and being here with us today and going back and watching and listening to our old episodes. The views have been going up, Jamie.
Yeah, I know. It's so exciting. It really is. We're so happy to have all these people jumping on and joining us, and it's great. It is. We appreciate it so much.
Yeah. We are completely blown away by this. So
yes.
First and foremost, we would like to thank Austin Krafka. First of all, and if you've seen his interview, and a lot of people have, because there is 1,500 views on the interview we had with Austin last week. So you've watched it. He has got to be one of the most sweetest, humble people you're ever going to meet. Super talented. The documentary was just amazing. He did a phenomenal job, and we can't thank him enough for the shout out he gave to us at the end of that documentary. It's made a big difference for us. And I personally want to thank Jamie, because Jamie was incredibly brave for telling her story. You're all joining us here because you have an interest in the paranormal, and that's what we want to talk about. One of the reasons I wanted to do this show was because I want to normalize this, because this stuff happens. What happened to Jamie truly happened, and she was incredibly brave for telling her story, and I just thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome. I'm so happy that I got to tell my story. Honestly, it's fun that you say it was brave of me, because honestly, I didn't realize how brave I needed to be until after I told the story and I started getting, the comments are just tough. There's so many good ones.
Yeah,
but
a lot
boy,
of positives.
I saw this reel, and it was different celebrities that were reading comments that they've gotten on some of their stuff, and just like roasting themselves, from the comments. And I feel like I've kind of had to do that. Not that I'm a celebrity, but it has gotten like 500,000, so 500,000 views.
Yeah, the documentary,
and you're gonna get all kinds,
Yeah,
you're gonna get the good and the bad, and it's just part of it.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that was difficult and seems to be the most talked about is the fact that you are smiling through your interview.
Yes.
Yes. Let's be honest, this subject matter it's probably brings back a lot of memories for you. And you're being interviewed by somebody. I know we come on here each week and we do this, but it's not like having to sit down. Someone's asking you questions and you're doing an interview. You must have this feeling of like nervousness.
Oh, I definitely smile more when I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But there's also many other reasons. Like I didn't even think about it when I was doing the interview. I just tried to be myself, and I am a smiley person. I tend to look on the bright side of things, and it's just my personality.
Absolutely.
And hearing all those comments about this lady's an idiot, she's just smiling through the whole thing, and I just can't just so many comments on smiling. I started thinking about why wasn't I more, torn up during the interview? And the truth is, for one, it was 20 years ago almost.
Sure.
Some of the events were 20 years ago because we were there for several years.
Sure.
Every one of my kids are doing great.
Yeah.
They're thriving. I'm thriving.
Yeah.
Ben's thriving. Everybody's happy. It had a happy ending. If I were to cry about it when I tell this story, I would probably get comments on the other side saying, it's been 20 years. Why is she still crying about it? So I just feel like I might as well just be myself and tell the story and be grateful that we're all doing great and that we came through those times and we're all good,
Absolutely.
So
no, it is. It's very courageous that everybody made it out. And, I mean, because these things happen. I know we talked a little bit in last week's episode, like, people hear these stories and they're like, why don't they just get out? Just get out, get out, get out. If you've got kids, why are you doing this? Get them out.
Right.
I mean, the hard part is that so many people can't do it. They can't afford to do it. There's no place else to go. I mean,
right.
This happens. I mean, you hear so many stories of people living in a haunted situation, and that is just not available to them. It's impossible. And you guys tried. To sell the house. You tried to do all kinds of things. This isn't lack of trying. I mean, the hard part, the documentary is wonderful, but there's only so much you can talk about. Like people watching aren't going to know your daily routine and life during that time and know
there's no
how
way.
hard you were trying.
Yeah, there's no way in 1 hour that we can put in all the details. There were so many factors in this.
Yes.
For one, Tori was hurt.
Yes.
And to move her around, she was in a immobilizing back brace.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that weren't covered in the documentary. I mean, we did try. We went to Joplin.
Yeah.
And so that was another question is, why rent it out to people?
Oh,
well, they had just done the cleansing on the house. Like we had the opportunity to go and work on this show in Joplin. And it was a good opportunity for us to get out of the house and reset, even though the investigators had already come and done the cleansing and things were feeling a little better at first, so it wasn't one of those things where we're like, we're going to get out and have these renters suffer. We kind of thought things were going to be okay after that. But of course, the people in the comments will say she's so naive, she's an idiot, but maybe we were. But we had never dealt with anything like this before. No. We did the best we could in the situation. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, so I got, I was thinking more and more just this past week after that. One of the things that had kind of popped into my mind, going back to a previous episode we did, the Hell House of Michigan.
Yeah.
And if you guys haven't seen it, you can definitely go back and check it out. The Pomeranian family were trying real hard to stick it out. They had 2 kids. They were living there. They were having things happen.
Right.
And they were trying everything under the sun. So they didn't have to leave their home.
Right.
And I got to thinking about how, if you watch the Steve Shippey documentary, the Dice Road documentary, at the end, I'm sorry to give things away, a little bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen that documentary, but one of the things they find underneath the Pomeranian's house is a jar that has a scroll of paper that has like X's on it, I believe.
Yeah.
And so when I met Steve, I asked, this is one of the things I asked him about. I was like, did the person who was hexing them in their home do this? And here's what he told me. And it really got me thinking about your documentary. He said it got to the point with the Pomeranians, who were very religious people. It got to the point they were so desperate, they were trying anything that they could. He believed they may have been the ones who even tried that, burying a jar, doing some type of spell themselves to protect themselves and their home. And so I think about this because I know so many people had commented on the Ouija board coming in.
Right. Yeah.
And here's the thing that people have to understand. you get to the point, you're so desperate. You know, your children are affected by these things. You're affected by these things. You talk about, like, you guys aren't even getting enough sleep and things are happening. Like, you're going to try anything. So at that point, especially, you know, we joke all the time about Ouija boards now on here. And don't use the Ouija board.
Right.
But then, I mean, we're talking early 2000s here. I got to tell you, if you would have talked to me in the early 2000s, I would have been like, sure, get out the Ouija board. Let's try and communicate and figure out what the heck this is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people have to really think about the time and the situation, and honestly, sometimes the desperation that families go through in situations like this. You'll try anything, right?
Yeah.
To make it better. So that just kind of came to mind. You know, reading some of those comments too, like people don't understand until they're really in your shoes.
Right. And everything happened so fast too that night. I mean, it was one night that they did this investigation, and I mean, it was just like, we've never done anything like this before. I'd never had anybody come into my house, you know?
Yeah.
And so kind of put it in their hands, you know, of how they were going to handle the investigation.
Yes.
Looking back now, of course, I feel like what an idiot. We should have never let them do that.
But you did not
But
know.
I'm telling the true story. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Whether it was smart or not, I understand, you know, where people are coming from, but this is what happened, and this is my story.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it was a dumb thing to do, but it was done.
You know.
So,
you didn't know. You didn't know. And I would have been the same.
Yeah.
If you have a group of people who are professionals coming in and they are saying, we can help you with this, you know, we're going to investigate, we're going to figure out, we're going to get to the bottom of it. You're going to let them do whatever it is they need to do. So, I completely understand. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of our listeners will also understand, you know, that you're just going to always have naysayers no matter what choice you make.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I said, like if I had told the story and I was crying and upset still after 20 years, people would be like, why is she crying and upset after 20 years?
Yeah.
If I'm smiling, people are upset that I'm smiling that these things happened. But I'm smiling because we came out of these with things that we went through that were so horrible at the time and caused so much stress and anxiety and sleepless nights and worry and all of that. And now we don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yes.
We haven't, it's not even really much of a thought. Like I don't constantly go around telling this story.
No.
I had the opportunity to tell it again after 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm so happy that my family's good and that we did go through all those things and come out and are able to smile and live a normal life, and no one's traumatized for the rest of their life. It was something we went through, and it was scary and it was creepy, and you know, some horrible things happened, but we're good now. And that's the thing I'm focusing on. And that's something that I want to keep smiling about, and I'm going to.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. And no, I'm so glad you did it. And I think you should be so glad that you did it. And Austin I think he did a fantastic
job. He did great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He did. Yeah. And I mean, there are so many good comments too. Yeah. It's too bad that, you know, the negative ones are the ones that always stick out. So,
it's hard. It's hard. Well, I mean, there was some personal attacks on there. I mean, honestly, what stood out for me, I mean, Jamie and I are both moms. So what I had seen when people were commenting something specifically was that that this was abusive to the kids.
Right.
Boy, that got my blood boiling, and I'm sure it did yours.
Oh yeah.
Jamie Shea is one of the best moms I know. I'm telling you, she's one of the best moms I know. She loves her children so much and would literally lay down and die for her children. So that really got me. I think that was one of the most heinous comments I had seen. A lot of people being upset, saying that you were forcing the children to stay in their rooms, which was not even said. That didn't even happen. Bridger was the first one to really notice a lot, and he asked to come stay in your room with you guys, and you said yes.
Yes.
And then Tori was having a hard time too, and asked if she could stay in your room, and you said yes.
Right. Like
this is what I heard in the documentary. Nobody was forcing the children to stay in their rooms while they were afraid. So I think people also need to get their facts straight too before you start making comments like that, because that is.
Yeah, there was even one comment where it's like, why is she smiling when her daughter died? And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
no one died. Did you even watch this documentary?
They clearly turned
no one died.
So, that's insane. That's insane. That's the thing. I mean, I don't think people are paying even that close attention. Some of them are not, and then they just want to comment, and they don't even have their facts straight. So, that got to me, and I think I just feel like everyone should know that is the exact opposite. Jamie is an amazing mom, and the kids are doing great. Like they're so
doing
awesome.
Great. Everybody's great. Nobody even really thinks about this anymore.
Yeah.
Like until I retold the story, everyone has moved on. This is not a thing. And the same for me, like I didn't reach out to Austin. Austin reached out to me.
Yeah.
I really debated whether I wanted to tell the story again.
I remember.
But, I thought it would be cool to tell the true story 20 years later. And I felt like I should be happy that, it's not a thing in our life anymore. It's something we went through and we have a story to tell. And but yes, I mean, nerves too. I probably smiled a little more because of nerves.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And it's hard. The thing is, like, I know Jamie. I mean, we see each other every week. We talk. We know each other. So for me, like, I told Jamie I didn't even notice it. It's just, to me, that's just Jamie. That's just how she is, and we don't want her any other way.
Oh,
smiley. That's what we want. Yeah, absolutely. Like, we want a happy, smiley Jamie. So
I was practicing not smiling after all those comments. Though I was like, I'm just gonna try to go through life
not smiling.
Frowny face.
No, we don't want that.
It kept coming out, so I guess that's just who I am.
That's what we want. We want more of that. We want more people to be like that. Hey, I've been criticized for the same thing. I'm a pretty happy person. I smile. I laugh a lot, which was one of my big things. I was nervous about doing the podcast because I laugh. I laugh while I'm talking. I don't know what it is. I just do. It's going to annoy the crap out of people. Some of it, it is. But I like to think, and this is one of the first things you can ask Jamie. I had said to her, I'm going to practice not laughing. I'm going to try and not laugh. And she said to me, don't. She said, just be yourself. People will, they're going to, if they're good with it, they're going to stay. If they're not good, they're going to go. So,
that's right.
So that's all we're doing here. We're just, this is how we are. And, we want to talk about these things because, like I said, I want people to feel comfortable talking about it. These things happen. Yeah. And we shouldn't feel ashamed or worried about discussing them. And so, people don't want to be made to feel crazy. So this is the place I feel like people can come and they can go, that happened to me too. I had the same thing. We're getting stories now, which are wonderful.
And there's plenty of those kind of things in the comments for the documentary as well. I know we got so many other things to talk about today, but before we move on, some of the questions I think that came up more than once in the comments was, how did I go back? If I couldn't remember the name of the Walmart lady, how did I go back and ask about her and them tell me she didn't work there anymore? That's a good question, but let me tell you, this town is the smallest town. Okay, we have a Walmart. That's our grocery store. Everybody either works at Walmart or they work at McDonald's. Like, there's no, so this person, all I did was go and say, I don't remember her name, but this is what she looked like. And they're like, oh, that's so-and-so. And
Right.
she doesn't work here anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. I get the confusion there. Like, how could I ask for this person if I couldn't remember her name?
Right.
Well, it's a small town.
Yeah.
And if people are listening and they grew up in a small town, they will get it. If you grew up in a city, you probably won't get it.
Yes,
So,
no, that's so true. That's so
Yep.
true. Yep. Yeah, I am
So,
also a small town person, and so
Yep.
everybody knows everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
I didn't have to know the name. I just said, this is what she looks like. This is where she worked. You know, that was it. That's all I needed. Small town
That was
stuff.
that.
And what else? What else? I feel like there were
Some
other ones that came up repeatedly.
Yeah.
Of course, why would you move in? We talked about this last week a little bit. If there was a pentagram, we thought it was just graffiti, you know, like plain and simple graffiti. Someone broke in, messed around, and I mean, in hindsight, would I do it again? Probably not.
Right.
But that was our true story. That's what we did. We did some stupid things, but we didn't know, you know?
No. I wouldn't even, that's the thing. Like, you know, I don't think you should be so hard on yourself, because that's the thing. You find this house that you love, and it stuff you don't think twice about it.
No,
honestly.
No. Yeah. Can you think of other repeated questions that came up? That was the main ones.
Yeah.
Just, why is she smiling? How did she know to ask for the lady at Walmart if she didn't know her name? Why did they move in if there was a pentagram? Why did they let people use a Ouija board in their house? So those were the 4 main negative feedback comments that I got. So,
Yeah. No, I think you explained yourself beautifully. I mean,
hope so.
And
the kids. Like, why would I make the kids stay in their rooms? Yeah, which I didn't. So
she didn't.
There you go.
She did not.
Yeah.
The kids were with her.
Yeah, that's right.
Kids were there.
Believe me. It was a very it wasn't a king size bed, I'll tell you that. So. It was snug in there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have it any other way, you know.
Absolutely. So no, thank you. I'm glad we have a chance and we have a platform to be able to talk about these things too. I think it's good to clarify. You know, who knows, those people who had some of those questions or some of those things may not be hearing it, but I think it's good to get it off your chest and say it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So awesome. So, you know, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Austin, again.
Yes.
It's been wonderful. Jamie and I keep checking the channel all the time, and we just see
it's exciting
going up. It's just I'm just amazed by it. So thank you all for being here. This is just great. You know, Jamie and I have been having a great time. We've been doing this now, I think 4 months ish.
I know. This is episode 22.
Yes. And we have a great time doing this.
We do.
So much fun for us. And
it's so fun.
Super cool people along the way, and keep your stories coming, because we love hearing those too. I mean, it's just been great.
So I think we'll have some more. I know that we had a couple comments with some stories. I had some people reach out and ask for our email. To tell some stories. So maybe next week we can cover some more listener stories.
That would be.
I know we have a lot to talk about today. Oh, I wanted to mention too that I left my laptop in Michigan and my mic. So I'm recording on my phone, so I apologize if the audio's not as good as usual, but we're making it work.
We are making it work. We're doing it. We'll still, no matter what, we're doing it. So while Jamie was here in Michigan, we actually had the opportunity to do another podcast together.
It was super fun.
We were the guests on another podcast. Called Movies We Love. Podcast with Jamie's other podcast partner. So she does cheat on me sometimes. She has another show. If you guys haven't heard, they're in a little bit of a hiatus right now. But Jamie is also the host, co-host of TV We Love. With her podcast partner Brad, and he has a new show called Movies We Love, and we got to be the guest on that, and we had a blast.
We had so much fun. It was so great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the type of show, like, I'm not saying, like, we can't say certain things on the show. We just haven't. I don't know. I guess I've been
Yeah.
watching my mouth a little bit, but over on Brad's show, like, he was like, let it fly. So we
Yeah, we
did.
just let it fly, and it was
Yes.
really fun. It was really fun.
So, movies we love is basically finding a film. We play it at the same time. The people at home can also watch the movie with us, and we basically give our commentary. And we got to, very fittingly, we watched Ghostbusters.
Yes.
The original Ghostbusters. And yeah, we had a great time. It was so much fun. But the episode is not going to air until October, he said.
Right. Yeah. And he won't even let us listen to it. I was like looking forward to it. So he's just teasing us with little snippets of embarrassing things we said.
Yes. Yeah, we said some
it was
things.
fun. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun though. Yeah, I have no regrets at anything I said. I
No,
meant
me
what
either.
I said.
I'm owning it.
Yeah, so fun. No, it was just a blast. So when that comes out, we'll make sure to share that. And then I think both Jamie and I are scheduled to be individual guests, watching other movies down the road. And
Yes.
so we'll be on again. And so we'll make sure to have all the info for that too. So be sure to tune in October for that. But one of the things that happened while we did this podcast was the scene with Bill Murray when Slimer is coming at him. And I always find that scene super funny. One of the reasons is the way Bill Murray kind of screams. Like when Slimer's coming at him, it just makes me laugh because he's just like, like. And so I had said to Jamie, I said, it reminds me, I had a similar situation where I had a dark shadow figure come at me. Mm-hmm. And I don't scream like a girl. Like I don't have a high pitched scream. I just kind of like, like,
yeah.
That's my scream. It's not adorable. It's not a pretty girl scream. And so Jamie was like, wait, what happened? And then she's like, wait, don't tell me. She's like, we need to share that on the show. Yes. So I thought, hey, I'll tell a quick story of an encounter I had with a shadow figure, and then we do have a topic today, and we can go on with that. But I have said before on the show, I have never not lived in a haunted house. I've always lived in a house that has had something in it, and varying degrees. Right. Most of the time, it's something we've always kind of just lived with. Weird things will happen, completely unexplainable. Things have happened. My house currently has. It's haunted. It just is. Yes. But this was a house we lived in not too far from where I'm living now. And it was a newer home. It was only about 10 years old when we moved in. And it was about the time I had my son, Hayden. So this was, 10-ish years ago. And so the house when we moved in was, like I said, newer, and it didn't necessarily have like a bad feeling or anything to it. We lived in a neighborhood. But the basement was a place you went down, and I always felt like someone's watching me. Like you'd go down there and it felt like I always would say it wouldn't shock me if I turn around and someone is standing there, because it always had that feeling of someone is just watching you. My daughter's friends would come over and they would be like, I don't want to go into the basement. And it wasn't a dark, dingy basement. We didn't really have it finished, but it was at a point where it could be finished, Right. Yeah. I lived in a home with something they refer to as a Michigan basement, which is nothing but dirt and stone. This was not the case, right? It was cement walls, and it was, a nice basement. But you still got the creeps, Mm-hmm. Then after I had my son Hayden when he was a baby, here we go. We'll let the hate mail come in for me now, Jamie.
Oh yeah, here we go. Oh my gosh.
Involves my son. He was just a baby. There would be times he would stand up in his crib and he would just be staring and pointing at one point as he got a little bit older, and just screaming his head off, pointing. And, nothing would be there. Obviously I would take him out and, try to comfort him. But this happened, it happened a few times where you could tell something was really upsetting him. And very much like your story, Jamie, our dog, Goliath, who he's an old pup now, but back then he was a young guy. And he would just sit and just look up and into a corner and sit there and watch and nothing. Like it was really eerie. It was really creepy.
Yes.
There were plenty of times I'd come home and, bear with me here. I'll give you a little bit of the layout of the house. When you came in the front door, immediately to the right was the basement door that would head down. You go all the way forward, you go straight, it's the living room. But if you kind of come in, there's a little entryway, and just past the basement door, you turn and go into the kitchen. There were a couple of times I would come home, and I almost always had to shut the basement door, just so that you could kind of get in. You leave the house, you kind of have it closed, so you could actually kind of get into the entryway. It wasn't a huge spot. And there'd be so many times I'd walk up, and through the windows, there were 2 little windows on the side of the doors. The basement door would be open, and no one else had been home. Like, the basement door was open. And a couple times I was scared someone had broken in, because I was like, I know I closed that door. I know I did. And so, one night, we had, Hayden's dad and I had come home. We had gone out. It was just us in the house. We had left the entry light on, but the kitchen light wasn't on. He kind of came in and headed through the kitchen and into the dining area. And once again, basement door was open. Don't know why. But I remember coming into the kitchen and just kind of setting like my purse down. And I had turned around to look into the entryway and towards the front door when I saw a very dark, shadowy figure. Come up the stairs. Like, it came
so creepy
through the doorway.
Ooh.
And it stopped and it turned, and it was enough where I could see where eyes should be. Like, there was like almost socket,
no,
right? But other than that, not much of a face. But it was very controlled. It turned and it looked at me, and it started coming at me. It was so swift. And I look back now and I can't help but laugh, because I feel like I screamed just like Bill Murray did.
Just like Bill Murray, yes.
In Ghostbusters. Because I was just like, ah! Yeah. And Hayden's dad is in the next room, and he's like, what's wrong? I was like, I can't even tell you what happened. You're not even going to believe me. But this thing came at me and then gone.
Wow.
Gone.
Oh, that's so creepy.
It was one of the creepiest things I think scariest things I've ever had happen. But in a lot of ways, it was also very validating, because the darn thing came from the basement, and I was like, part of you is like, I knew it. There's something down there,
Yeah.
Like, and even to this day, like, we've tried to think like who or what, or, and we've talked about homes before. Like, it doesn't matter how new your home is. It doesn't matter, like, so many different things. It could be an object in your house. It could be the property it was built on. It could be anything. It could be
anything.
And, and so, when this happened, like, so eventually I told Hayden's dad, I said, this is what happened. And he kind of looked at me like, are you sure it wasn't just this? I'm like, I'm telling you, man, like, there's no mistaking. And it was just, and the movement was so, it was with such purpose and turn,
just swift.
And yes. And I could see, it looked at me long enough where I could see its eye sockets.
No thanks.
Yeah. But shadow, I would say, it was dark, and I know there's all types of classifications, right, of spirits and shadow figures and whatnot. I don't even know what you would classify this as, but it was a very dark entity that was coming at me. And
that's so scary.
It was,
yeah.
But it was a house where, you could live with it. The situations were few and far between.
Right.
Everything I told you just now was probably the extent of it all.
Yeah.
And And that was that.
Did you go back in the basement after that? Did you have to?
I've been, yeah. We stored things down there, and but you just couldn't. You couldn't hang out down there. You couldn't. Like, it always felt like something.
Right. Get what you need and get out, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we did realize that my dog Roscoe looks like the gargoyle dog.
Yes.
In Ghostbusters.
He looks just like him. He's so sweet, though.
Yeah. He's like a nice version. I need to get like a side-by-side picture.
Yes.
I'll do that. I'll post it on Instagram.
Yes.
So you can see. But there's some. Jamie agrees. They
Roscoe
definitely
the gargoyle.
Yeah, there's some similarities there.
It's awesome.
But yeah. So we had a great podcast on movies we love, and it brought up a ghost story for me. So yeah, so it was good stuff.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I hadn't heard that one before. It was very creepy. And I totally understand why you screamed like Bill Murray. So I get it.
Yeah. I wish I had an adorable scream, but I just don't. I scream like a guy. But that's how he did it. Every time I see that part in Ghostbusters, I'm like, that's how I scream when I get really scared.
Yep.
That's what I do.
Just own it, Jen.
Yeah. I have a manly scream. So today we have an episode for you.
Yes.
We have talked a little bit before about it. So our topic is cursed films today. It was something that interested me because, for those of you who don't know, both Jamie and I work in film. I'm currently producing a feature film that we have been working on for, close to 5 years now. The first portion really was a lot of pre-production work, and there's so much you have to do. You have to raise the funds for the movie. You have to, if you're working with particular actors, we've had to contact their agents and worked out deals and things like that. And so I have been joking that our film is cursed because so much has happened in the last 5 years that it just seems it's too much. It's just too much stuff. It's really wild and crazy. Yeah. So I say all the time, our film is cursed. And amongst, there's another producer I work with and the director. We say this all the time. And so now Jamie has come on to help us. And almost, the timing was almost perfect. We've sucked Jamie in. And now, unfortunately, some of our bad luck has kind of come on to Jamie just a bit. Yeah. It's yes.
It's either the film or it's Peggy. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Peggy the doll or the film. One or the other. Or maybe both. They're getting me. They are getting me.
Yes. Yeah. If you've missed it before, we had done an episode on cursed dolls, and Jamie looked at Peggy the doll, which is, you can't do it.
No. It was only for a second.
Yeah.
And I panicked.
Yeah. It was so quick. It was so fast. She was right there. Yes. Yeah. So we can't really decide. It could be a little bit of both, but yeah, so since we have started this film, it is a horror film, kind of a thriller. It does have some political, I don't even like saying undertones because it's not even under, it's over. It's there. It's there. It's a combination of that. It's very interesting. This is the director's second feature that he has worked on, and there's been so many wonderful things. It's been an awesome experience. However, a lot of us have been affected, and a lot of things have happened over the course of 5 years. Big things. We've talked about, both the director and I have lost a parent. Like, my mom died a little over 3 years ago. His father died shortly after that. We had another associate producer. She had lost 2 people in a week, and it was shortly after my mom had passed. It was just boom, boom, boom. We have had weird incidences, and any of these could be coincidences. We don't know. Without fail, both the director and I have a terrible time keeping like our appliances working. He has had a major struggle with his furnace since the whole thing started. He's like, every time I go away, I come home and something new has happened, in the house that he's got to replace. And the same thing happened. We came home from Disney and we had like a leaky sink. My garbage disposal is dead and my washing machine stopped working.
Oh my gosh.
So this is just this a small glimpse of some of the things.
Yeah.
It just doesn't end either.
No.
So is this bad luck? Is it karma? Is it the universe trying to tell us something? Or is this movie I'm currently working on cursed? And if so, why? Why is it cursed? I did a little research and looked into some other films that are known as cursed films. There's some of the usuals. I'm sure a lot of people have heard, Poltergeist being cursed, The Exorcist, The Omen, a lot of horror films, right?
Right.
And they have subject matters they're dealing with. It might be a little understandable as to why something might be trying to stop them from talking about it or doing it or being successful at it. Poltergeist, it's talked about that house, it was a real house that they filmed in a real neighborhood. They actually, there was a family that was living there at the time, but it said that whole neighborhood was built on a Native American burial ground. Could that explain why some of the things had happened? A scene in Poltergeist when the mother, I'm trying not to add, there's big spoiler alerts today.
Right.
If you've not seen some of these films, you may have to fast forward a little bit. I'm going to give them away. I'm sorry.
I feel like if they're over 10 years old, the spoilers should be okay.
Okay.
If they haven't seen it by now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In the pool scene, the family's building a pool and she's running and she falls down into the pool, which hasn't been built and it's all mud and skeletons start popping up. It is said that those are real human skeletal remains.
Oh.
So, things like that, does that cause negative things to happen, around the film and to the people who have worked on them. I wanted to actually find some movies today that maybe aren't talked about as much as maybe things like Poltergeist and The Omen. Some things that may have nothing to do, they're not horror films necessarily. Maybe some of them have, subject matter that's really sensitive and something's trying to stop it from being told. So today we're going to actually talk about a film called Stalker, which I had never even heard of. It's a Russian film. I had to talk about it, though, because the stuff that went on was crazy. You can't help but think, man, maybe this movie is cursed.
Right.
We're going to talk about Rosemary's Baby, which to me is kind of like, there could be good reason a movie like that is cursed.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about The Passion of the Christ. That had a lot of stuff happened on Passion of the Christ.
Wow.
Things I had no idea. I did not know. A movie I'd also not heard of by the great director Werner Herzog called Fitzcarraldo. I had not heard of it. It's a movie from the very early 80s. They had some terrible luck on Fitzcarraldo. And then we're also going to talk about a film that was so cursed it couldn't even get made.
Wow. Okay.
The movie doesn't even exist, everybody, because it's so cursed they couldn't even make it through.
Okay.
So we got some good ones for you. So let's talk about Stalker first. Really interesting synopsis. The movie was made in 1979 by director Andrei Tarkovsky, like I said, from the former Soviet Union, what is now known Russia. The movie was filmed in parts of Estonia, Tajikistan, I know I was going to have trouble with that, and Russia. So here's what the movie is a little bit about if you haven't heard about it yet. I actually have not watched it, but I fully plan on watching it.
Oh, yeah. I want to watch all of these.
Yeah, it's so great.
Except for the one that doesn't exist, I guess.
Yeah, we can't watch that one, right? So, Stalker takes place in a small, unnamed country where there's an area called the Zone. Within the Zone, there's a place called the Room, where it is believed wishes are granted. The government has declared that no one will go into the zone, and they've now sealed it off. But this has not stopped people from entering the zone. There's two men, a writer and a professor. They want to get to the zone, right? They've heard all about it. They want to get there. They find a guide, otherwise known as a stalker. That's what they call the guides that take you to the zone. They're stalkers. Stalkers have a special relationship with the zone, and they know how to find it. The stalker takes the two men into the wilderness, and they're now searching for the zone. I don't want to give too much away. So, what makes this movie so cursed, right? These are just the few things that have happened, and then everyone can determine if these movies are really cursed or not. And why would they be cursed? Like, what has happened to make these movies cursed?
Okay.
So, director Tarkovsky, he found this project to be one of the most troubled he's ever worked on. He has done quite a few films. He's a very well-renowned Russian director. He's made quite a few films. Some people will even call him a genius. I would like to check out more of his films. They look really interesting. But this one for him was the hardest thing he's ever worked on. In fact, he almost stopped working on the film several times. He almost just gave up completely. One of the first things is they had trouble finding a location. Trying to find something that looks like maybe like a war-torn area, something that also is kind of a peaceful spot. He wasn't getting the clearances and things that he wanted in order to film at the locations he liked. Eventually, they did find places in those. I mean, they had kind of had to travel a little bit to get what he was looking for. He actually had a very tense working relationship with the photographer, Georgie Rurberg. And listen, those things can happen. I mean, directors and directors of photography working together can be very, very tough. Both could have complete different opinions and visions. I mean, in the end, the director wins.
Right.
It's his vision. And really, the director of photography is the one who kind of gets everything lined up and helps with that vision. And they always put in their 2 cents. They always, say what they think too, or what might work best.
Right.
But unfortunately, this relationship became very, very tense on set. They really struggled. So they spent about a year shooting all the exterior scenes for this film. They were given a new type of Kodak film at the time. So yes, film was still being used. Nowadays, for the most part, we all use digital. The movie we're working on now, it's all digital. Some directors still really love film. And I get that. It's got a cool look to it, but digital is very easy and more common. You can shoot a movie. We could, shoot movies on our phones. I mean, you can do anything today with digital. It's amazing. It's amazing. But then it was film and film only. And they were given some new Kodak 5247 film stock, which was provided by the producer, Sergio Gambarov. He got a hold of the new film. After developing the negatives, all the negatives came back completely unwatchable. They had like a shade of dark green to them.
Ooh.
And it's really kind of unclear because normally you do something called dailies, right? You kind of go through and just double check your footage and make sure you got what you wanted. You didn't forget something. Everything looks and sounds good. Then they kind of did the same in a sense. You just had to go develop the film and bring it back and take a look at it and see. Now, for some reason, for a year, they didn't do this.
What? Why?
No one knows. No one knows. They, in a year's time, they probably should have developed some of it to see and make sure everything was working out. Unfortunately, it was pretty much all unusable stuff. Yes. Tarkovsky always believed that the film footage was actually sabotaged by one of his enemies, a well-known film director. He felt the film had been switched like the actual film had been switched and was developed incorrectly. Like maybe like the wrong chemicals were used on the wrong film, which then destroyed it. And he felt like someone was out to sabotage him. So this was actually, when this happened, the cinematographer, Georgie, he had enough. He actually, the production actually blamed him for this. He took the blame that the film was actually kind of ruined. And so it's unclear if he walked off the film or if he was let go from the film. But he was done. So they had to get a new cinematographer. So they had to start again. They had to start all over again.
Can you imagine?
No.
Yeah.
That would be a nightmare.
Yes.
We had talked a little bit about like our footage at one point, and my concern was that we had like one copy, and one person has these hard drives with our entire movie on it, and that feeling, just I hated it. Like I'm like, I don't feel it, just feels so icky because one thing happens and you're done. And like I said, we've been filming for so long, like having to go back and do it again, the money that you've spent, the time, not just your time, all these actors and the crew, it's just like your heart sinks.
Yes.
Thinking about it.
I mean, it's hard the first time around. I can't even imagine having to do it again and organize schedules and people, and it's just it's heartbreaking.
It's a nightmare. Tarkovsky, though, he wanted to push on. I mean, good for him. Like, I'm the type of person, I probably would have just thrown myself on the ground and been like, I'm done. Like, I can't. I give up. But he did not want to give up. So yeah, they just got themselves a new cinematographer and started again. It is said that the script got changed up quite a bit from what they were originally trying to shoot. So he did some other things to this. The script originally was a book. And so it really started to kind of move away from what the book was originally like. And so, but those were just changes that were made the second time around. So it's said that the film rushes, that's what they call the developed film, rushes, of the first version of the movie were kept actually by the editor. The murky, dark green, unusable ones, the editor just held on to them in her house for years. And then one day they were actually destroyed in a fire. That actually the editor ended up dying in the fire too.
What? Oh my gosh.
I know.
Ew.
Yeah. So the original shots are gone, and the editor lost her life in this fire.
That's really sad.
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah.
While they were trying to film the reshoots to the new version, it strangely started snowing in the summertime.
What? This gets weirder and weirder.
Isn't it strange?
Yeah.
A freak snowfall started happening in the summertime. So that caused delays, because who expects that?
Yeah.
Right? So crazy. So while passing the time, waiting for the snow to stop, the cast and the crew started engaging in binge drinking sessions.
Oh, no. That's never a good thing. Trouble.
Right? So get this, they would mix cheap cologne and sugar together, and they were drinking it.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand if they were like stuck in a lighthouse. Have you seen Lighthouse?
Yes. Right.
The film.
Yes.
Where they start drinking like, kerosene or whatever. But that's weird.
Yeah.
Cologne.
Yeah.
And sugar.
And sugar. They'd put sugar in there and they would drink it, and they were getting hammered.
That's insane.
Yes. And so this caused the director to be super mad, right? Because here they all are, just drunk all the time. Yeah. So he would get so upset, he would start calling the cast and the crew names. He ended up even firing the art director and I quote, behaving like a bastard. Yeah. So the art director was done after all this drinking. So yeah, I don't necessarily think that that's a curse, but this was just something they were doing. I had to add that they were passing the time with because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh God, gross. Like
That
cologne.
is so crazy.
So bad.
Ugh.
Yes. So one of the worst things I think to happen, one of the shooting locations they were at was an incredibly, unbeknownst to them, a very unhealthy place to be filming. They were shooting part of the film. There was a chemical plant just upstream from the water they were using in a lot of these shots. It was discharging untreated wastewater. As I was even watching, so I should tell you, currently on Shudder, if you all have Shudder, there is a show on right now. They have 2 seasons called Cursed Films. This is kind of how I found out about Stalker. So
Oh
although I
yeah.
haven't, yeah. So everyone check that out because it does have some really interesting facts about Cursed Films and interviews and things like that with cast and crew, which is really cool. And this one really stuck out to me. So that's why I was like, I got to learn more.
Yeah.
So I was actually able to see scenes from the film. So there are scenes where one of our main actors is actually in the water, like he's laying in this stream, and it's nothing but chemical waste coming
Oh
down
man.
onto him. So many members of the crew, the director, people they're standing in this water to get shots of things. And like I said, the actors are laying in it. So yeah, they spent a lot of time in this area. It was a very big part of the film. And it really ended up making the cast and crew really sick. Director Tarkovsky, his wife Larissa, as well as the main actor I said that was kind of laying in the water, they developed the same type of rare cancer.
Oh no.
And all 3 eventually passed away from it.
Oh my gosh.
There's even a shot in the film where they capture the snow falling during the summertime, and then there's this white foam that's in the water, and come to find out, it was all poison just in the water. Yeah. So, yeah, and it was said that even like as they were doing filming, a lot of the women on set were actually having immediate reactions like on their face from being so close to this. It was literally killing some of them.
Man, and that sucks that was he had so much trouble finding locations, and then when he finds a location, this is what he gets, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just crazy. So something else super interesting about this particular filming. Now, did Stalker make actual predictions? Were some of the things in the film actually predicting other catastrophic events and even maybe the death of the director? Here's some of the scenes that are in there that may have predicted the future. In one of the scenes where they're filming the stream, there is a calendar, almost like a rip-off tear daily calendar piece that's kind of floating in the water. And the date reads December 28th on it, as your camera is kind of watching all these things in the water. Now, the director, Tarkovsky, actually passed away on December 28th, 1986.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was the date that was in the water. Yeah. Did he predict his own death? Was that so significant? What are the chances that the calendar piece that was in there happens to be the day that he died? Some believe that Stalker actually predicts the disaster in Chernobyl.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering if that's where this was going. Yeah.
Yes, so this film was made in 1979. The terrible events of Chernobyl happened April 26, 1986. So the movie was made a few years before Chernobyl. Right. This is where the number 4 reactor of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, located near Pripyat in Soviet Union, had exploded. During the disaster, 31 people died immediately, and about 600,000 people involved in the firefighting and the cleanup were exposed to the horrible doses of radiation.
Wow.
That were there. People were evacuated from their homes immediately in the area. I can't even imagine the scene on that one. And actually, there's a very cool miniseries movie on HBO about Chernobyl too. If anyone ever wants to check that out. Eventually, most everyone developed cancer that was involved and passed away. So the number 4 has quite a connection to the film. So it was the number 4 reactor that exploded in Chernobyl. In the movie, the room that we talked about that's supposed to be kind of this magical, wish-granting room, it is located in a bunker referred to bunker number 4.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Yes. And just like Chernobyl, the zone in the film is filled with all kinds of dangers and anomalies. Like the film Chernobyl has also been blocked off by the government. You're forbidden to visit the area because there's so much radiation that still lingers there and will for many years to come.
Yeah.
But also, like the film, people don't stay away from Chernobyl.
Right.
They have people visiting Chernobyl pretty much daily. It's people go there, and so there are tours given. They have tour buses. There's a. Am I gonna remember what it's called? It's Dark. I'm gonna think on it.
Okay.
Dark Passenger. Something like this. It's like a show. It's very cool. It's a guy who goes to places where that are very different. Things that might be, have to do with supernatural or just unusual. I want to say Dark Passenger, I bet.
That sounds familiar to me, but I can't be 100% sure.
I'm going to look this up, guys. Don't worry.
Okay.
Very cool show. But I remember because he was going to tours, I believe, actually in Japan, where they had their nuclear reactor do the same thing. And people were going in and touring the area. And they kind of were holding their own, like, little radiation meters. I mean, these things were just going off like crazy. But people still do it. They're still doing it. And they do it in Chernobyl. And so here's the thing. They now refer to the tour guides in Chernobyl as stalkers now. Because it's just like the film. They're going into these forbidden areas.
Yeah.
They know how to get there. And, So I thought, I don't know. That's very interesting.
It is.
What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think it's possible for a movie to predict the future in some ways?
There's so many unexplained things out there. Like, I would like to say it sounds like coincidence. But there's so many coincidences. It's hard to say. It's just so hard to say.
Yeah.
I wish I knew,
I know, and sometimes you wonder, were they having so much trouble not having the film come out clear? Is that a warning? Is someone trying to give them a warning saying, stop here, don't go forward, don't continue with this movie? I wonder that sometimes with our film. There's times where I'm like, are all these things kind of happening to say, is it, saying stop, or is this just life? Is this just coincidence how it happens?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. I mean, I think we could say, hey, if we're, skeptic, this is, coincidence, this is life. But when it keeps going and there's more and more and more, it makes it seem a little less coincidental.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Right. And the calendar gets me. I think, what are the odds? There's 365 days in the year, and that's the one date floating down the river.
Right.
I don't know. It's just, what are the chances? I guess 1 in 365.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So that's the movie Stalker. I'm excited to check it out. I'm not exactly sure where to find it yet, but I'm sure there's a streaming service out there that has it.
I'm sure.
So very, very interesting. So our next film is Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, this is one of the first scary films I saw as a child. It's up there. Oh.
Yeah.
My mom loved horror films, and so anything that came out, we were watching. And this one creeped me out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's tough. So Rosemary's Baby was made in 1968, directed by Roman Polanski. So the interior shots of the movie were actually filmed at Paramount Studios in Los Angeles, which I have decided I'm going to look more into this. I just heard Paramount Studios may have also been built on burial ground.
Oh.
And it is said that Paramount Studios may be haunted.
Wow. So, okay.
Future show there. I'm going to look into this because that's so interesting to me.
It is. It is.
And the exterior shots were filmed in New York City. The whole thing is supposed to take place in New York City.
Right.
So if you have not seen Rosemary's Baby, it is about a young couple trying for a baby. And they move into an apartment building in Central Park West, where they find themselves surrounded by some very interesting neighbors. Here's where the spoiler alert comes in. Fast forward if you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Rosemary's, and I have to say it because we're going to talk about some things that involve the synopsis of this movie. So Rosemary's husband inevitably is making a deal with the devil and allows him to impregnate Rosemary. And the neighbors in the building all just happen to be devil worshippers, and they're all working against poor Rosemary, who is just a sweet Catholic girl who just wants to have a baby.
Yes.
Poor Rosemary.
Poor Rosemary.
So, yes, Rosemary, played by the actress Mia Farrow. She did a fantastic job in this film, too. What makes this movie possibly cursed? So, film producer William Castle, who he himself believed the movie was cursed.
Okay.
It's great because in a lot of these, the more research I was doing, at least the director or the producer was like, yep, it's cursed.
Yep, it's cursed.
It's a done deal.
When you know, you know.
You know. He had actually received death threats while the making of this movie was happening because people did not want this movie made. Once again, this was also a book before it became a film. Yeah. So people knew what the subject matter was and they weren't happy. He was feeling so much stress from everything. He eventually had a stroke and he ended up dying at the age of 63. And apparently while he was in the hospital after his stroke and in a delirious state, he yelled out, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop the knife."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. That's creepy.
Yeah, before he passed. So the film's composer, Christoph Komeda, he actually slipped and fell off a rocky area. Eventually, he actually went into a coma for about 4 months and then eventually had passed away. He reportedly only woke up once, and it's because he heard the recording of his song from Rosemary's Baby. And he just kind of woke up while the song was playing and then went back into his coma again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So actress Mia Farrow at the time was married to Frank Sinatra.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. Old Blue Eyes was not happy with her taking this film. Yeah. If memory serves, he was quite, he may have been Catholic too in real life. It just seems.
I would think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't quote me on that, but I have a feeling.
Italian?
Yeah. And so he did not want Mia to take this movie. He felt like the whole thing was bad, just bad juju all around. The subject, no good.
Right.
And she almost turned it down. And then someone talked to her and said, "There's potential here for an Oscar nomination, so you should do it."
Yeah.
She said, I wouldn't mind having that Oscar. And so she took the film. She did it. And then it became such a problem in their marriage that Frank filed for divorce. He's the one who filed for divorce.
Wow.
And actually served her the papers while she was on set filming.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Rude.
Very rude.
Rude.
How about ruining someone's character?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard to get into character when you're getting served divorce papers.
Exactly. Like, do it in private, man.
Yeah.
But yes, so it had become just the whole topic had just become too much for them, and he filed for divorce. And so she was actually going through the divorce pretty much the entire time of the filming of this whole thing, which is awful. And she was not even nominated for Best Actress. Not even a nomination. The film did get a couple of nominations, actually, and I want to say the song might have been it. and a couple other things too, and I slips my mind. But yes, it had some Oscar nominations, but Mia Farrow did not get a nomination. The film's producer, Robert Evans, also faced personal and professional challenges, including accusations of murder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And of course, this is the big thing, everyone, is the brutal murder of Roman Polanski's then pregnant wife, Sharon Tate. This was the Manson
Yes.
sisters. So this actually happened while not so much while they were filming, but the movie was in theaters at the time that the Manson family murders happened. They're obviously in Roman Polanski's home. He was out of town. His wife Sharon was there. She was an actress herself. She had friends over, and the Manson family was sent there, and she was murdered, and her unborn child, and everything. It's just a horrible, horrible situation. So, did that have something, to do with it? Another spoiler alert I have here, because it is about a very particular scene, and this also, there's this weird tie-in here. There is a scene from the film where a woman appears to have either leapt or fallen off the building, and she is dead on the ground. And this all happens in front of the apartment building that Rosemary lives in, and Rosemary knows the woman. They used an exterior shot for that scene in front of a building called the Dakota Building, which is in New York City. It ended up being the same exact spot that Beatles singer-songwriter John Lennon was also shot and killed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so here's a weird tie-in. Say what you will about it. So there has been connection with Charles Manson and the Beatles.
Right. Yes.
Charles Manson was a musician. He actually, I think, even got an opportunity to work with the Beatles.
Right.
Later on, the Manson murders and all the stuff that Charles Manson was doing, it had connection with the Helter Skelter. Beatles connection. And then come back to this movie, the Manson killings of Sharon Tate. And then John Lennon is then shot in the same place where these murders happened, where Roman Polanski had filmed this movie. Rosemary.
Right. Oh.
I don't know. It's like this weird Beatles, Manson, Rosemary's Baby connection that I didn't even stop and think about until I did more research on this.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, individually, and then when you see the big picture where they're all somehow connected, it makes you really go, what's going on here?
Right. So that's a lot of what happened on Rosemary's Baby. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like maybe because of the subject matter? I mean, it is very, it's talking about demonic, it's talking, the devil himself, Do you think that there are forces out there that would try and stop the making of a film like this?
Yeah, I do think there are. And I think about it often just with our podcast and some of the subject matter that we cover. I think, is this, something that's stirring something up?
Yeah, I wonder that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I mean, the subject matter for Rosemary's Baby is very disturbing and scary, terrifying even. I have images from however many years ago that was, still from that film that scar me, that were so disturbing. I don't know. I mean, again, is it coincidence? Is it a curse?
Right.
Something's going on.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel right, and I guess frankly it kind of makes sense. I was discussing this topic we were going to talk about with a friend of mine, and they said, well, why would, it can't be like evil forces trying to stop it, and I thought, well, in a sense it might. Now I'm going to get a little biblical with you, and I have not read the Bible from cover to cover, but from what I understand, the devil doesn't want people to know he's there.
Right. He wants
He's
to
always
sneak
trying.
up on you.
Yeah, he's always kind of in hiding. So
Yeah.
is there dark forces trying to stop this because the devil's like, we don't talk about me. Like, we don't talk about this type of thing. We don't talk about the Antichrist. We don't talk about this type of thing. I don't know. I mean, also, and there's, oddly enough, so many films out there that are considered cursed. I could do a few more, and I probably will down the line. We'll do some more cursed films. But even say like with The Omen, which is about a couple who have, it seems to be, adopted the Antichrist, and that film had an enormous amount of terrible things happen.
Yep.
Is this something that even dark forces are saying, nope, you can't have it out there? I mean, it's there. Like, listen, you'll find people are determined, They're gonna get their movies made. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
If they gotta have to get new cinematographers and art directors, we're doing it, right?
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought about that, and
I don't know. I mean, because you wouldn't think the good side would be the one punishing these people. So is it the dark side saying you don't get to do this your way? We're going to do it my way.
Right.
What is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This is just interesting stuff to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, we're gonna flip it a little bit now. We've talked about the dark portion of things. So what happens when you're making a movie about the Son of God? What happens then?
Oh yeah.
You have people who are like, nope.
Wow.
So we're going to talk about The Passion of the Christ, which was made in 2004 and directed by Mel Gibson. That movie was actually filmed in several different cities in Italy, of all places. In the film, they use, they speak, it's subtitled because they're speaking in Latin and Aramaic.
Right.
I have to give it to, especially Jim Caviezel, who plays Jesus, and the other actors in that film. I can barely speak English.
Right. Yeah.
You want me to learn a dead language? I don't.
Right.
What the heck? Like, amazing.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
amazing.
Kudos to them. I have Duolingo on my phone, and every day it reminds me I'm supposed to be trying to learn Spanish, and it's just not happening.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So I get they probably had him working with, I mean, who else? I mean, this is the thing. Who knows these languages? I mean, Latin, I know. I mean, they would teach Latin and Aramaic. It's just incredible to me. So the fact that they had to sit him down and other actors to learn this language, amazing. That alone, what a feat. I probably would have laid down and cried because I wouldn't have been able. I mean, it's hard to learn your lines in a movie in English.
It is.
In your native language. Yeah. 1,000%. And but then you got to learn it in another. Forget it. I'd be like, never mind. I'm not doing it, Mel Gibson.
I quit.
Yeah, I quit, Mel. And I don't know. Jim Caviezel may have wished he would have quit this movie. I don't know. He seems to get the brunt of most of the stuff, the cursed things that happened. And if you're not familiar with The Passion of the Christ, the movie depicts the final 12 hours of the life of Jesus Christ on the day of his crucifixion in Jerusalem. It is a brutal film. It's a tough watch. I saw it in the theater when it came out. It's very difficult. I actually had the most difficult scenes I struggled with were actually the ones they had some scenes with Mary. Mary walks with him. The whole thing is Jesus had to bear his cross all the way to where his crucifixion was. And in real life, filming, this cross they had him carry was 150 pounds.
Wow.
Right. So the actor carried a 150-pound cross. Chances are Jesus had to do the same. I'm sure it wasn't lightweight.
No. Yeah.
But the scenes I had the hardest with were Mary walked in with him until the end, and they would do these flashback scenes of Mary with him as a child. And here she was, just this mother watching her son have to die. Oh God, I was in tears. It was too much. I couldn't. So I've never been able to watch it again because that that was so hard. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm tearing
I've
up
only
thinking
seen
about
it
it.
one time too, long time ago.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So yes. So actor Jim Caviezel, who plays Jesus, he actually suffered a dislocated shoulder carrying that 150
Oh, I
pound
bet. Yeah.
cross. It had actually fallen on him at one point
Ooh.
and dislocated his shoulder. That alone.
Yeah.
Uh, it continues on. This poor man. He was actually whipped twice during the scourging scene, which actually resulted in a 14-inch scar on his back. So,
What?
yeah. So I actually watched some behind the scenes clips. So what they had was, Jim Caviezel was here. They actually had this other mechanism behind him, so that the person had a real whip, but when they were hitting it, like they would hit the mechanism, they weren't hitting him, but the camera angles made it look like he was getting whipped. Well, the guy who had the whip went a little too high, and it actually hit Jim Caviezel in the back.
Oh,
and yeah,
ow.
I mean, he talks about it, and it is, it's so painful, and he has scars. And he even said, his immediate response was to turn around and say some things to the man who it was an accident, but still, looking at it now, and as someone who works in film nowadays, you have to be like, careful doesn't even begin to describe. There have been so many horrible incidents that have happened on film sets. And so I know that the laws, the protection laws, and everything have changed. Unfortunately, with every incident that happens, things change, and you have to have people there making sure everyone is safe. But accidents happen, and so they go to shoot again, and the guy does it again.
Oh, no.
He gets whipped a second time.
This is almost seeming like it's on purpose at this point. It's so crazy.
It's just, I can't even imagine the pain. I can't even.
Yeah, no. Oh.
Caviezel also endured hypothermia and got pneumonia to prolonged exposure to the cold weather while filming the crucifixion scene. So it was actually like winter time when they were filming. Italy, I don't know the exact, they experience cold like anybody else experiences cold.
Like Michigan cold?
Yeah, right. But they were having, Mel Gibson still wanted everybody dressed in costume. You had to look like you were in Jerusalem.
Right.
And so they were barely wearing anything.
Yeah, I bet they were freezing. Yeah.
He literally froze.
Oh.
So Caviezel, I think, ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. He also suffered from a lung infection during this time and migraines. He needed 2 heart surgeries after the filming, including open heart surgery. Now, Jim Caviezel, I don't know how old he was when he filmed this, but he had to have been in his 30s, I would think.
Right. That's crazy.
Young
a 30-year-old having that kind of heart issues is rare.
And he will tell you it's due to the film. He knows it's because of the film. This is, if you don't believe in the Lord, I'm telling you, you might after hearing this. This is the craziest fact. I had no idea this had happened on the set. During the filming of the Sermon on the Mount, Jim Caviezel was struck by lightning.
What?
Yes.
What?
He got struck by lightning, and his hair caught on fire.
Oh.
Other than that, he was unharmed. But you just go back and you're like, the man was whipped. He had pneumonia, open heart surgery, and he was struck by lightning. Folks, if this isn't God telling you to stop making this movie, I don't know what is.
That is insane.
I don't know what is. Not only that, assistant director Jan Michelini was also struck by lightning.
No, really? Oh my God. This is getting crazy.
And are you ready for this? Michelini was struck again. He was struck by lightning 2 times. 2 times. they tell you the chances, and I meant to look it up because I've heard it. The chances of getting struck by lightning are so rare.
Yeah.
The chances of getting struck by lightning 2 times are almost an impossibility. And it happened, all this happened on the set of The Passion of the Christ.
That's
Come
so
on,
crazy.
folks.
That is so crazy. Yeah.
Jim Caviezel to this day blames the downfall of his career on this movie.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, and at first I was like, no, he's Jim Caviezel. But I'm like, think about it. I don't remember the last time I saw Jim Caviezel in a movie.
No.
I don't know.
No.
And he's an excellent actor. And I'm like, I don't understand. So why did because of this movie, he blames it. Now, he says in an interview I saw, Mel Gibson had, when he actually took the role, he took the role and then he had a conversation with Mel Gibson. And Mel Gibson told him flat out, you will probably never work again after you make this movie.
Huh.
I don't know exactly why he said that. I don't know if it's just because of the subject matter.
Right.
I mean, movies have been made about Jesus and the Bible. Different stories of the Bible have been made many times before. I mean, my goodness, the 10 Commandments, for crying out loud. And it didn't kill anyone's career.
Right.
But it seems to be on this occasion, Mel Gibson was correct, and he really hasn't worked much since. And that's crazy to think, because that was over 20 years ago.
That isn't, yeah.
Yeah. And Jim Caviezel was doing some films around that time. Frequency sticks out of my mind. That was a great movie.
Right.
He was doing some stuff, and frankly, we haven't seen him in a while.
No.
Also, about the time the movie came out, it was also kind of the downfall of Mel Gibson. I don't know if you would call this a curse or not. I mean, I think Mel probably brought a lot of it on himself. He was drinking more. He had been pulled over a couple of times. He was making some very anti-Semitic comments at the time. He was going through a divorce. He'd been married to his wife for 30 years, which never happens in Hollywood, right?
Right.
They had several children together, but he had cheated, and so they were divorcing. She had found out they were divorcing. And so honestly, because of all that, Mel Gibson's career has kind of, he was Mel Gibson.
Right.
And so his career also kind of went downhill, but you can't, that's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He kind of did that
his
to
choices. Right. So,
yeah.
Yes. But maybe the film was cursed because the powers that be were like, we don't want this guy telling our story. It's
certainly possible. Like, could there be a stronger force out there that made him kind of become that way? Because he never came across as that type.
No.
He always seemed like
so out of left field. It was just,
he was the fun-loving Australian guy. Lethal Weapon. Come on. So it was very surprising. I think he was People's Sexiest Man of the Year at least.
Right.
Everyone loves Gibson. But and he's done some things since then. There was talk of a sequel to The Passion. I don't know. I don't think that's happened. And I think after all this, and from what I understood, Jim Caviezel was signed up to play Jesus again.
Oh, wow.
I don't know that there's enough money in the world.
Nope.
To have me come back.
I'm done. Nope.
I don't. So there you have it. You've got Rosemary's Baby dealing with one end of things. You've got The Passion of the Christ dealing with another end of things, and these crazy happenings. My last film that was actually made that could possibly be cursed is one I had never really heard of either. It's called Fitzcarraldo. Do you know this one at all?
No.
So it was made in 1982 and directed by Werner Herzog. It was actually filmed in several cities in Peru and Brazil, kind of along the Amazon River. For those who have not seen Fitzcarraldo either, it is the story of Brian Sweeney Fitzgerald, or they call him Fitzcarraldo, who is an obsessed opera lover. He wanted to build an opera house in the jungle. And to accomplish this, he first had to make a fortune in the rubber business. The movie also involves hauling a riverboat across a small mountain with the help of local natives in order to clear out a space so this guy could build his opera house in the jungle. So that's what the movie is about.
Okay.
So what makes this movie so cursed? Well, right from jump, the actor Jason Robards was supposed to play Fitzgerald in the film. He actually immediately got amoebic dysentery. And he was so sick he had to leave the set and he wasn't able to come back. So, yeah, dysentery affects the digestive system. It is not good. You can actually die from dysentery.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was okay. He went on to live a very long life and had many other films after that, but he was not a part of this one. Now, the area in Peru where they filmed was so remote. Each day they had to take a plane or a boat to get to it because they really are in a jungle. So 2 plane crashes actually occurred during the filming, and crew members were injured. So many were getting injured in between the 2 plane crashes, and one actually was paralyzed for life after that.
Oh, no.
Yes. So because they were in a real jungle, they did have a native tribe helping, and they were part of the film. They were actually in the film as extras. But there was also another nearby tribe that was not okay with them filming there. So they would, on occasion, kind of attack the set. And one time they invaded the set with arrows. The cameraman actually was hit in the hand and was injured. Because of the area they were in, they were nowhere near hospitals. They were nowhere. I mean, there's no grocery stores. There's no place to get supplies. So these things were very limited. So the guy had to undergo surgery and get stitches on the spot. No anesthesia, no nothing.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The things you do for film.
It's crazy. It's totally crazy. Like, legally today, I don't think you can do, like,
no.
I think about the call sheets we have to put out, those actors in the crew. Like, every time you put those call sheets out, you have to put, like, the nearest hospital, like, nearby. You have to be near a hospital because, God forbid, something happens. You find, you have to know in advance where to go and what to do. You know, plopping yourself in the Amazon and filming where there's nothing around. Yeah, these people were getting hurt and there was nothing they could do about it. So, yeah. So the relationship between the filmmakers and the native tribes were a bit rocky. Like I said, some of them were actually working as extras. Some were not happy that they were there. It got to the point where the 2 tribes wanted to fight each other.
Oh, no.
And Werner Herzog had to talk them down. They were going to go at it. Yeah. So you've got that whole situation. There was a local logger that was helping them with some things on the set. He had to amputate his own foot with a saw, like the movie Saw, because a venomous snake bit him.
Oh, my God.
He wasn't gonna make it to the nearest hospital, so he had to cut off his own foot.
What?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I would move on from that film.
Right.
No film is worth amputating your own foot.
No. Yeah. If he didn't cut off his own foot, the venom was going to go to him. So he had to, I can't, like, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I would have passed out the minute the saw like hit my skin. I would have passed out and then I would have just died. And that's just how, or I would have been like, okay, I guess it's my time because no one's going to be sawing off my foot, let alone myself. I don't know. That's so brave. And,
it is.
I guess when you're in that situation, you can't say what you would do, but that's what he did. He's a brave, brave man.
Wow.
Yeah. So deaths occurred both on and off set. So several of the indigenous people who were extras on the film died from disease, just being out there. They actually, I talked a little bit about them actually moving. Part of the plot of the film is they had to move this boat out of the way and take it up over a mountain. So Werner Herzog had them really move a real boat up and over a hill.
That's crazy.
It is. It's incredibly dangerous, and proved to be so, because it ended up killing a lot of the native tribe because heavy falling, hurting, injuring, people died doing this. A young Highland Indian also drowned after taking a canoe without permission. So took off and ended up drowning. So after Jason Robards had left his role, the actor Klaus Kinski took his place. He was actually known to be a bit of a volatile actor. I'm not exactly sure why Werner Herzog ended up hiring him with that reputation, but he did. And the two of them had a terrible, tumultuous relationship for the remainder of the film. It was pretty bad. There was a lot of arguments and clashes, so much tension that it got to the point where the indigenous people came to Werner Herzog and offered to kill Klaus Kinski for him.
Wow.
Because his behavior was so bad.
This is an intense film.
I know, right?
This is crazy. This is just the behind the scenes stuff, not even the movie itself.
Exactly. So Werner Herzog said, "No, that's okay. You know, thanks anyway, but we don't need another. We don't need that."
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, the location itself was riddled with issues because they're in the rainforest. So they're really, like I said, there was no food, there was no supplies. Like whatever they were bringing over in these little planes and little boats to get there would be all that they would have. It's and you can only fit so much on those small little things like that. And so eventually the film got made. They got through it, but not without all this craziness. Now, I mean, I can totally understand why this would be considered a cursed film. But once again, is this because it's cursed or because they chose to put themselves in some crazy conditions?
Yeah. I mean, they were in elements that were hard to navigate, even when you're not trying to film, just to, move through from one point to another. Can you imagine spending hours on a set in these conditions?
Yeah.
I don't know. This one's a little harder for me to say it's cursed and more of they did it to themselves by putting themselves in that position.
Yes. But it was a wild one, and I had to share it because I couldn't even.
Oh, yeah. It's still like insane the amount of things that you go through to get a film made in those conditions. So the foot was cut off.
Yes.
What was the other? Shot with an arrow and basically,
the hand had to be operated on without any type of anesthesia or anything.
That's insane. That's insane to me. The foot gets me the most though.
Yeah,
I just can't even imagine.
No, I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to be in that situation.
No.
Yeah, also one of the things I didn't talk about the film. It is considered a cursed film. I didn't talk about it because I don't think it's cursed. I think anything that has happened to these people, they brought on themselves. But it kind of reminds me of some of these conditions. Is Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Don't watch
it.
Don't. It's basically an animal snuff film. It is. It is known because they actually killed animals for real on camera.
Oh no, I can't handle that.
No, it's absolutely. In fact, the filmmakers were, what do I want to say? I mean, charges were pressed after this movie came out. I mean, if you're a horror fan, this would be considered a classic in a sense, because of just everything, that it is involved.
Right.
It's a cult classic, if you will. But the scenes in the film, I've not watched it. I won't be watching it. I've only heard enough. And, it is rumored that people actually died, that they may have actually purposely killed people to give it realism in the film. Now, the director actually had to go on trial to prove how he did some scenes to show that he didn't actually kill people. And I think really it was minimal. I think they got some time, but it was all probationary. I mean, they didn't have to serve any time. You know, there was a lot of just very, very, very graphic scenes of all kinds. And so I'm not trying. The only reason I'm comparing the films is because they literally picked up this cast and this crew, and they went out where there were indigenous people in Cannibal Holocaust. They actually did use real indigenous tribes that were
wow.
there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you even begin to communicate with people who are there, the natives? You don't speak the language. You don't know. You just don't know. It's a different. You're living in two completely different worlds.
Yeah.
So it's the same. I feel like it's the same with this film with Fitzcarraldo. I just, as a filmmaker, I just don't think I would do that. I just don't think I would do that to a bunch of people.
No. No.
A bunch of Westerners, you take them out and plop them in the situation. And and you know, I did see, so Hannibal, I do this every time. Cannibal Holocaust is on the Cursed Films series. It's in the Part 2 series. I just don't consider it cursed. I think it's just
you brought it on yourself kind of thing.
Yeah. They, and things that went wrong. I mean, they went to court after this. I mean, and the movie is banned in a lot of places too.
But they should have, as they should have.
Yeah,
so,
it's cruel. It's absolutely cruel. Just horrendous. I won't see it. But I also kind of feel like I don't consider it cursed. They kind of did this. So yeah, I don't know about filming in places like that. I just
I don't know. It's just stuff you don't really think about. I guess I always thought it was just, you know, a set that they made to appear, you know, a certain way. But I never really thought, oh, they're actually in those elements and they're dealing with those wild animals, those jungle animals, and, you know, poisons that we're not used to, and indigenous people. And I just, I can't imagine shooting in those conditions at all. So
I've decided if I ever need a scene like that, I mean, really what I might just do is just not weed in the backyard for a couple of weeks. The things I get growing up, I mean, it can get to be a jungle out there. So, I mean, we'll just do that instead. I'd have to travel to the middle of nowhere, right?
100%. It grows fast.
Right? It does grow fast.
Yeah.
So we'll just do it that way. All right. So my last film, this is very quick because the movie never got made. It was a comedy drama by the name of Atuk.
Okay.
I don't even have a synopsis on this film just because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But here is the curse that's behind it. It's very interesting. So I say this timeline. Keep in mind, like, it was one of those things. It was a movie. They're like, hey, let's do this. Something bad happened. So they shelved it for a while. Then they would ask someone else, and then they would shelve it again. So I'm not saying what happened was consecutive, but when they were trying to make this movie, these things would happen. So the reason it never got made is because every actor that was offered the role kept dying. So the first actor to commit to the film was the comedic actor John Belushi.
Okay.
And then he had passed away.
Yeah.
Then they talked to the stand-up comedian Sam Kinison, and then he passed away.
Wow.
After their deaths, the script was given to John Candy.
Oh no.
Who then also passed away. Then the script was given to Chris Farley.
No, this is crazy.
Yeah. And then he passed away. It is also rumored that Chris Farley had given the script to also SNL comedian actor Phil Hartman.
And he was murdered.
And then he was murdered by his wife.
Yes.
So.
Wow.
They gave up. They gave up.
I would say so.
And
how many actors are you going to go through?
Right.
They're going to lose their life.
Right.
That's just insane.
Is that not crazy?
That is crazy. That is crazy. Just that alone, if nothing else happened, just that alone was enough to say, okay, we're done.
Yes. So it's like these actors would get offered this role. They would be handed the script, and then, and every actor passed away from something a little bit different.
Yeah.
no one passed of old age here.
Right.
It was all different circumstances. But my goodness, what are the I had never heard this before.
No.
And the movie was called Atuk. And once again, I just know it was supposed to be like a comedy drama, and it never got made, and probably never will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Atuk?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of want to look up the meaning of that. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. So there you have it. The movie that was never made. But I'm like looking all at these huge name actors that were given the script, and then they would.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. That is very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I have for you today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what's going on?
Yeah. What is going on?
Who doesn't want these films to be made, or what is angry that they got made?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. What is it?
Coincidence or curse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's either way, it's incredibly interesting. Like I said, there's many more films out there that they would consider a cursed film. And, you know, maybe down the road we'll talk about some of those too.
Yeah.
I would love to hear people's theories. We love your comments so much. Let us know what you think. You know, we've talked about it. We feel like some of these films, some people may have kind of, they put themselves in not the best conditions, and so things are going to go wrong. But, are some of these movies predicting the future? Are there forces out there that are trying to stop these movies from being made? Hence getting struck by lightning twice.
That one got me for sure.
I don't understand it. I just, the chances are so slim, and it happened.
Yeah.
So there you have it. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for listening. And thanks for sharing those stories. Those were I love that stuff. And I love to try to figure out my own thoughts on it. There's just, I mean, I know it can be explained away like other things, but some of it for me cannot, like the lightning strikes.
Yeah.
That's
just science.
Yeah, that's science.
Yeah. So it's just crazy. But if you guys have stories of your own, we would love to hear them. You can write us. Our email is unexplainedarchives2025@gmail.com. We also have all the info too in the show notes, so you can take a look there. And write us, send in your stories. We would love that. And also, too, don't forget to subscribe and like and comment. We want to hear what you guys think about all this stuff. And also, we are on Instagram. Every day, we're posting a little something about the stories we talk about. And you can follow us there at Unexplained Archives 25. We are still working on... We'll get our Facebook together at some point. I did look. I had started working on one, and I was happy to see like 30 people had viewed it. I was like, nice. And I feel so bad because there's nothing on there right now.
Yeah. I know. I get it. And also, I know that you had done a social media post, but we're on YouTube now. I mean, we've been on YouTube. We've been on Spotify. But now soon we should be up and going on Apple Podcasts. But we are up and going on iHeart.
Yes.
And Amazon.
Yeah. This week was big for us. We got on all the platforms. So we are everywhere. You cannot escape us.
That's right. And shout out to Brad for helping us get all that going.
Yes. Absolutely. Huge help. So thank you so much for that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, if that's... Oh, real quick, I wanted to show you something I found at a yard sale.
Okay.
A little bear. Oh. But you see him? He's a little Canadian Mountie.
Oh, he's Canadian. I love that.
We have, if you're new to this, you have to kind of go back and hear all the stories. But we love
Canada.
We just love Canada.
We do.
We love everyone, but
yes,
we just want to remind Canada that we love them.
That's right.
So I couldn't pass it up. I was like, no, he's a little Canadian Mountie.
I love it.
I'm going to put him back here with all the other oddities I have.
Yes.
So he ties in with the show nicely.
Yes, that's perfect.
So, yeah. So thank you so much, everybody. We will see you again, same place next week.
Yeah. See you then. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.